teeth. That's how you cover up your cavities. You glowing like a diamond ring. I saw you blossom other things.
Hello and welcome to High Viz Health. I'm your host, Dustin Udowich. A treat for you guys today. I know what you like, so I'll make it happen. We got Charles with us today with a really, really cool background. And this podcast is probably going to start and end the same way. Charles, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Handshake on air.
Thank you so much.
And without further ado, Charles, introduce yourself and give the GSI audience and beyond a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you for having me here. I'm glad we could get in here early. I know probably threw you off a little bit to be like, yeah, I'd love to do it. Let's do it at 9 a.m.
Saturday morning.
On Saturday. I work better in the mornings.
I like it.
But my name is Charles, and I'm an Army veteran, retired now permanently, which is great. Also on the GI Bill redemption arc here. So 30 years old, 9 months away from a bachelor's degree. Got a lot of things going on, run my own gun club outside of that, which it's gaining its own traction. It's another reason why, I think we matched up pretty well, that definitely a lot of interest in that. And then, yeah, man, just a living embodiment of someone who's trying to grow a little bit more every day.
I feel you, man. I'll give a little background to the audience about how we landed here today. Charles is a man of many talents. You really are. One of the things we started talking about right after I met you was some of the technology for this podcast.
Right.
Marrying up the audio and the video for the podcast and having my JV ass be able to put it all together. And so we started chatting about that, and Charles is actually over at my house, and he's configuring some things, and he makes a comment. And it might be the name of this podcast. He says, "I don't want to be easy to kill. Don't let me hammer that for you." We're either going to name the podcast "Don't Be Easy to Kill" or "Smoking Saved My Life," and so we'll get to that here shortly. But we got to talking about it, and that led me to better understand Charles' past, specifically his military experiences. And Charles, what the hell are we doing? Let's jump in. Let the crowd hear.
I'd love to, man. And it's funny because we have a mutual friend that told me that phrase kind of stuck with you.
Absolutely.
Don't be easy to kill thing.
I've told that to 20 people since we've met. No joke.
Yeah, it's not necessarily don't be easy to kill. It's a lot of it is don't be harder to kill.
Be harder to kill.
Because everybody's going to die eventually. Yeah. And I hate to go straight into morbidity here,
yeah.
But I mean we are but everybody's going to die. So make yourself as hard to kill as possible, gain as much knowledge as you can. And that's not I didn't make that phrase up. I don't want to take the credit like I made that phrase up. It's a common thing. But I really freaking believe it. I heard it for the first time a couple years ago, and I forget what I was doing. I think I was looking at something on YouTube, and I was watching this guy give a tutorial on how to move and carry people in a casualty environment.
Sure.
And he was giving a real casual breakdown about it. And he was just so candid about how...
Very matter of fact,
but also very candid and approachable in how he relayed this information. And then he, said, we need to be harder to kill. And, when we're in this situation, what's the priorities? I'm on top of his chest because he's hurt and I need to, I have to get around. What if he can't breathe? I don't care because that's not a priority. My priority is getting him out of there. And to have the priorities be so compartmentalized that way, less drastic, not in a environment where you're trying to save somebody, right? But to compartmentalize your priorities down to the nitty gritty, to the building block of each event, is what I think really makes you good at it. The rigorous application of a standard in any form.
Yeah.
And I know that's a super military way to say that.
Yeah.
But just apply it to everything and break it down to those small pieces and keep building.
No, that makes perfect sense. Something else you said early on in that conversation is we live in an age where everybody's waiting to come be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I believe that.
Yeah. And I don't mean to parallel a life and death situation with eating a bag of Cheetos.
Right. Yeah.
However, if we're talking about lifestyle, and we'd like to talk about holistic lifestyle on this podcast, and we like to give our people some things to take away, you could put that in the same family of thought, meaning that You live in a vending machine society. You live in a society where you're surrounded by bad choices. If you don't get off your ass and make a couple choices, right? If you don't select your pathway in some manner and set yourself up for success, no one's going to come and do it for you. Right. The honey bun industry is not looking to serve your wellness.
Well, I think a great example is what you've got here, really. Dude, I can look around and I'm not an idiot, and I can see that you guys have done well for yourself in life, and that, it takes a humble person and a determined person to still stop and go, I need some help with this. Even if it's something like podcasting, and I'm, by all means, I'm not a huge subject matter expert on everything.
You feel like Isaac Newton when you talk to my dumb ass.
No, not close at all. Not close at all. But it just that characteristic is what speaks volumes, because like you said, the vending machine society, everything is, we are raised in automation now. The ability to take control of your destiny and confident not only in that is a way to kind of break that cycle.
Yeah, and not stay on autopilot for what's handed to you, because it's so damn easy.
Or to take that step back and remind yourself how grateful you are to have the things you do.
We were just having this conversation on the podcast about how you can float on Xbox One for 8 hours, right?
And I've done that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes. And it's the easy. But by the way, I got really, really good at Madden during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
When I had COVID.
Oh, yeah.
6 straight days, put 8 hours in a day. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Didn't even want to watch movies.
Oh, yeah.
Just played Madden. Haven't played it since.
Emily hated it.
Yeah.
When we were home, oh man.
Yeah.
She hated it.
Because you were using a lot of cuss words with 8 and 9-year-old kids on Call of Duty. Yeah.
Well, they have to learn.
Yeah, give them something to walk away with for life. Yeah, that makes sense. So take us through your military experiences. And I know you had some very sincere experiences.
Right.
Because I think that'll lead us to a really powerful conversation on mental health, and how you've done the upkeep and you've made some changes to implement some positive things in your life. So take us back through some of the things you've talked to me about offline. I think it'll be so powerful for our people.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit more. I'd love to preface this conversation with the fact that I am not a 20-year veteran. I was not Special Forces or a Navy SEAL. I was a young kid who joined the military out of pride for the country and to protect my family's history. I'm the 4th generation on my father's side in succession to join a branch of the military. That was important to me. But you learn a lot of things the hardest way in that time. And I mean, you learn a lot of great things. You learn about a lot of things that you can really apply to life. But I joined the military in 2010. February, went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for both my basic training and my advanced individual training. I was a forward observer. So that's a 13 Fox for any of my former military guys out there.
And I know, we have plenty.
I know. So I've heard. So that's a 13 Fox, a forward observer. You've heard of me, guaranteed. If you're in a line company, you know who I am. Loved it. I was great at my job. I took a lot of pride in studying that job. I had a lot of great mentors too. I had a lot of bad ones too. Don't get me wrong. In the enlisting side of things, deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 in the Kunar province up there in northeast Afghanistan, near the border of Pakistan. Couple valleys over from the popular movie. What's it called?
Wahlberg?
No. Yeah. Okay. So that's somewhat the same area. And then there's Restrepo, which is the real popular one, which is the documentary. That was a couple valleys over as well. So not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
And it's 2011. So obviously not 2006, 2007, the height of everything, but still pretty bad. But yeah, we go out there and we have to do what we have to do. And as we've talked about before, I came pretty close. One morning, July 27th, I was on OP and observation post and taking a look around at things. It was early in the morning. I was on a guard shift at this small tower, and sun's coming up. I go to take a look around at things. Because, you're up there for 8 hours and you're tired and
Sure.
you know, and you're looking around, you got night vision, and the sun comes up, you switch out, you got to go check things, you got to check, you know, do your hourly reports and all that. So I'm looking around and, you know, I see all the townspeople down there. You know, we're on the top of a mountain. So, you know, I'm looking down, I see people walking around doing their thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I guess everything is quiet today. I'm going to go ahead and
Nothing out of the ordinary.
nothing out of the ordinary. You see females walking around, they got kids with them, you know, you people herding cattle or, you know, livestock of some type. It's a real tribal place out there. It's a very simple life, not much to see. If anything's out of the ordinary, you notice it. If that means anything, I'm sure to a lot of people it will.
If you've been in New York, it means something because there's nothing out of the ordinary in a big crazy city.
Yeah, but and when you're in a tribal mountain area, you know, even seeing an extra car that you don't recognize is different. But so nothing out of the ordinary in this particular day. I go to sit down. I got my binoculars up, and you know, I'm just kind of and again, the service, I'm going to do this for the camera, but so I had my binoculars kind of propped up on my knee like this, and I was looking through them, and then I was like, all right, like it's time to grab a cigarette. You know, I've been sitting here a while, and I turn ever so slightly just like this to grab my cigarettes. And right then I was shot. I got, miraculously, it sounds like something out of a movie, but the bullet went through the front lens of my binoculars. The impact, obviously, I hit myself in the face, did some damage to my eye socket.
Did you have any clue what happened in that moment?
In the moment, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I just remember, like, it felt like I don't know. It felt like just a big. It's really odd to describe, especially with where I got hit. You know, so it goes through my front lens of my binoculars. It comes through. I hit my eye socket pretty bad with the binoculars, and then by the grace of God, my the round that hit the binoculars went out the side of the binoculars, skimmed the side of my head, and cut through my ear, which you know, resulted in some good tinnitus and TBI and fun stuff. Pardon me, jeez. So in the moment, no idea. I hit the ground, obviously, and it felt like I got punched. Like, it felt like I got hit with a really powerful punch.
But that instant.
But it was so, like, the pressure doesn't feel like a fist, like where there's a lot of surface area.
Yeah.
It just felt like this it's a very hard to describe feeling.
Oh, it had to happen 3 times to me before I knew how to describe it. I mean, seriously though,
Yeah.
like it's so, like, how would you? That's the answer I
It feels
expected.
really hot. Like, after, in the moment when it happens, I can't tell you really how it feels. I just remember feeling a force and then I blacked out for like 2 seconds. Because I hit the dirt, I go black for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then next thing I know, my buddy is over top of me. He's like, "What the fuck, man?" Blah, blah, blah.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Where did that lead? I mean, so you were. It was quickly identified that you were injured.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, and then, you know, they basically picked me up, you know, or helped me up because I got shot through the ear, so I'm fine everywhere else. So they helped me come to. They picked me up. Luckily, I'm in a tower, and again, this is a very small mountain base, so everything is kind of co-located. I don't want to give too much information about the location, but everything is pretty co-located or built into this mountainside.
Sure.
So after I got hit, you know, my buddy, he brings me to, and then we walk into an aid station, or but, you know, move to an aid station. And, you know, I essentially, in that time, I kind of put my hand up to my side of my head, and I'm just covered in blood.
Sure.
And it was pretty spooky. And the adrenaline is going immediately, you know, so in the moment, I don't really, it hurts, and I'm shocked. And not to mention kind of scared shitless for a sec. But because I'm not going to pretend like I got shot and instantly became fucking Iron Man.
Right.
And like fucking, and just go out there.
Put me back out there.
Put me back out there now. Like, no, like it just didn't happen
Yeah.
that way, man. It just didn't, it just didn't happen like that.
What happened to your psyche? From you know, I mean, obviously you had to go through the recognition of what actually happened, right? And it had to settle in enough for your psyche to kind of get a hold of it. But what happened from that point on? How did you change your thinking about your presence overseas and moving forward, your outlook on life, how did that change? I'm sure the entire experience changed you, but that particular incident is obviously impactful.
You want to know the secret? You don't figure it out for a while. You really don't. And I don't, you don't figure out how you really feel about a lot of things connected to something that can feel so senseless for a while. Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of my experience. I obviously want to show respect to people that have been through more, or are continuing to do it. But, you don't really recognize how you felt in those moments until way later. And you also don't recognize how it negatively impacted your life until way later.
Yeah. It does make sense. Yeah. It's like a much more intense version of like you had a girlfriend that sucked yeah. And now you're with a girl 3 relationships later and you're showing some weird behavior and you're like, well, maybe I've got some underlying things here, but that's just a different ballgame what you experienced.
Right. Well, no, and it's funny that you use that example because trauma really in all forms is going to dictate how you maneuver through life. Like it really does. And when you go in, especially service members or people that, combat guys, and I'm so sorry, we're not the smartest dudes. We're not. We go into that job out of pride, out of dedication for something, and some of the time to get out of a scenario that we don't want to be in. And we go out there and we do what we're supposed to do and we take pride in that. The only thing about that is that when you have that skill set, or you have that mindset, it can be shattered for you in a moment.
Sure.
And whether that's getting hurt and not being able to do it again, or not getting hurt and getting out of the service, trying to help yourself and realizing you can't do anything else, or you're too fucked to do anything else. And am I allowed to cuss on here?
100%. Okay,
I didn't. I had no idea.
We are about as down to earth as it gets, man.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know. It's a company thing. I don't know.
No, we've had so many people hit me up and say, dude, the guest, it's real life experiences.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking from this. So it's unbelievably powerful.
And stop me if I rant because I didn't plan for this at all. But
that is the way we do the High Vis Health podcast. No doubt. We see where it takes us and the real life experiences, man. If I show up and I talk to our people and I say, well, break down your micronutrients, what kind of vitamins and minerals are in this? That doesn't resonate with most people, right? I want to give our people something to take away to say, this is applicable to my day to day. And in your case, you came back and there's some psychological things, some really deep impact experience. Right. No, we can't relate to a bullet coming that close to our head, right? Making contact with our head. 99.99 whatever percent are not going to be able to relate to that. But what we can relate to is I've got this psychological barrier, right? And I want better for myself. I want to improve myself. I want to move forward in life. I want to learn. I want to evolve.
Right.
But people get stuck and they don't. And the question becomes why. It becomes about behavior change and mental pathways.
Yeah.
So, not to throw your ass on the spot right after you say, dude, I took a bullet through the binoculars, but what would you say to our people out there? So when you identified, all right, I've got this hindrance. I've got this mental, thing I've got to break through or work on. For the guy out there who can't get off the couch, for the person who's pre-diabetic, and they have, and if they change their lifestyle, they could lower that blood sugar, or even keep it nice and even, not go down that rabbit hole, and actually get to a point where it's maintenance for diabetes. For those people who are looking to make positive lifestyle change, what would your advice be? What would the first steps be to say, hey, look, I'm going to change the way I live. I'm going to raise my quality of life. What would you say?
I would say there's a lot of people waiting for a major life event to make them to do better. And I only say that because we talk back to a lot about, how I was injured and everything. That event was a large catalyst in a lot of problems in my life. But it serves its purpose in knowing that I didn't fix it because of that. And I didn't even recognize it was the problem until way later. And then, when you start identifying one problem, what do? You usually identify a lot of them. And then you kind of break down again, like what I said at the top of the show, you got to compartmentalize. You got, and not compartmentalize as in stow it away in your mind vault and never speak about it.
Right.
It means take these things, break it down. How did this make you feel? Why did it make you feel this way? What reminds you of this? What can you do to change? Let's go back to the diet thing. Like people that eat for comfort. I'm a big fitness guy. I used to be extremely overweight as a child too. So I have a big.
How much of your childhood did you spend overweight?
Just about all of it. Up
to what age?
Until about 17 years old.
Oh, wow. So these are some high school years.
Oh, yeah. No, so I was, again, we'll get into that. We'll get into that because I would love to kind of share the perspective as it is all encompassing through our lessons in life. And I've learned a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, at 30 years old. I mean, there's a lot of things you can take from it. And so whatever you have to do to get off the couch, usually it's going to start in your head and then the feet.
I get that.
And then you're moving.
Just being in the realm of holistic health, I'm always looking at people like, God, I hope this person doesn't think the way they feel is just the way everybody feels.
Oh, yeah.
And I really want people to give themselves a chance, an opportunity to feel better. And that sometimes that, comes down to if you're drinking 40 ounces of water a day, for 14 days, drink 80 ounces of water. Mm-hmm. Give yourself a chance to know what it feels like to be a little healthier. And this is some broken record shit here, but it's like, it's not an all or nothing proposition.
Oh, no.
That mind game you're talking about, taking the first step mentally to say, I'm just going to tweak what I'm doing here, can have such a compounding, immaculate effect.
Yeah. And to build on that, sometimes admitting you don't know how to tweak it is a big step.
Sure.
I have friends, and granted, I'm a victim of this too, but I have, it's a constant process, whether it's health, whether it's your mental, whether it's your holistic connection, anything like that. I have friends that still to this day, I will receive the 2 a.m. phone call from, and the I just don't get it, those calls, and I know people will know that.
Yep.
But you have to. Taking control isn't as easy. I hate to make it sound like it's just like,
no, you're right.
I need to fix this. Like, yeah, that's a great thing to say, but also it's a lot of people get stuck right there.
Yeah.
They go, let's say I come to you and like, hey, guess what? I decided I'm going to stop doing this. And you're like, that's awesome, man. That's so good for you. And then I go, great, he's happy for me. And then I just go do it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that piggybacks back all the way on to what you said about we have a society that's so automated that people are expecting to be saved, right? Because I tell you I'm going to do something good, it gives me the same rewarding feeling as actually doing it. And now I have the belief that you think I'm doing okay and I'm not.
Right.
And
for sure.
And that gives me the Band-Aid.
Really well said. Something that's cool that, about the GSI Lifestyle program for our people. And I think this is one of the main reasons that the program is so crazy successful. The number one reason it's successful is because our culture. Mm-hmm. Guess what? When you join GSI, you've surrounded yourself with some good ass people.
Right.
Well, we use the phrase work family all the time, and there's no smoke and mirrors. It's
right.
It's a family.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, you don't have to luck out like I did, but the takeaway is surround yourself with good, positive, awesome people.
Right.
So your tribe is a big deal. But another reason that I think we're really successful is accessibility.
Yeah.
So when people have that idea or that they're in that stage of readiness where, hey, I'm willing to make a little change here. I'm willing to cut soft drinks in half, or I don't want to feel this way. I want to give myself a chance. They can access the program really easy. So it's having the inclination or the readiness that you want to make a change, but it's knowing how to seek out right?
Right.
Or having accessible sources.
And that starts with the great support system. So like, you know,
sure.
and like you're saying, it's the work, live, family type deal. You know, that having a support system, even of coworkers, no matter how small it is, whether it's even someone just every other day that says, how you doing? You know, some people don't have that.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Have you ever heard of blue zones?
No.
So there's 5 recognized blue zones in the world. It's these 5 areas in the world where there's an abnormal number of people living to 100. And they're not just making it to 100, but they're living healthy to 100. Icaria, Greece, Sicily, Loma Linda, California, Okinawa. So there's a bunch of places there, and you look across you look across these 5 places and you say, what are they doing? What are they doing? The biggest predictor of longevity in these places is social connections, not nutrition, not fitness. None of these places have, fucking Gold's Gym. They just move about their day, right? The human body was made to move, and they take us up on the offer. So, it's the social connections. And what I found to be the single most interesting thing in everything I've learned about blue zones, which I'm enthralled with blue zones. They're so cool. The single most impressive fact that I took from this was it's not just your social connections as in you hang around your family and you're tight knit. It's what you just talked about. Are you the type person that acknowledges people in passing? Do you open a door for somebody? Do you give a quick have a great day? Those connections were almost just important as the people you spend 14 hours a day with.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. So it's acknowledging that you're a part of a society, right? And that your interactions with others can be really powerful, even if they're just casual. I thought that was really interesting.
I think that's a great standard to live by. I mean, I think everyone can afford to be a little nicer to folks. But I mean, I was even frustrated. I get frustrated kind of frequently, and I luckily I have a great support system. But I was talking to my dad. And he said something to me just a couple days ago that was really powerful. We were talking about politics and some other things that make me mad. And
that'll be the last 7 hours of this podcast. We'll cut
the
out.
last 7 hours, yeah. But my dad very plainly, he's F-16 pilot, 20 years as F-16 pilot. Also,
what's his name?
That's also Charles Davis Sr.
Charles Davis Sr.
Yep.
Shout out on the GSI podcast.
Yep, so
I love it.
Charles Davis Sr. He named me the second, so he wouldn't get called senior, but it's still happening anyway.
Oh, tough.
I know. Poor guy.
Tough.
Pour guy. But so I was talking to him.
With that kind of history, he's got to have some cool nicknames, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know. So I was talking to him, and he's I was ranting to him like I tend to do, and he was like, you need to have more faith in your heart than you do the society around you, and that spoke volumes to me.
Which will in turn improve the society around you.
Correct. So if you. And that's a real utopian phrase. I understand that. Like, it is a really utopian phrase. But just if you can embody that a little bit more every day, and I need to be reminded from time to time, I think you can make a positive impact in someone's life, no doubt.
Damn right. And that teeters on the conversation of charity's not all charity. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, when you give, whether it's resources or your time, it's the way it makes you feel.
Right.
And the way it impacts the way that others around you act. And it's the same thing, like open a door for somebody, have a positive interaction with somebody. It'll change your day. This is for most people. There's some introverts out there that, look, I'm not judging you. Some people just operate a little differently. But, man, just, again, it's that whole giving yourself a chance to feel a certain way. If you're somebody that's a little standoffish, maybe you've got a very cynical view. You've been a police officer for 14 years and people cuss you out and throw punches at you. And you're like seeing the worst as a social worker. You're down a little bit. I think go back to what you just said. Trust in your own heart. And I think by trusting in your own heart, you can trust in the heart of some other people walking this earth, right? And just as a byproduct of trusting in your own heart. And you can say, you know what? There's people out there that want to do good. Right.
And I hate to be the antagonist in this conversation, but the last 5 minutes of what we just said is for the healthy individual, because an unhealthy individual is not going to be able to do that without it, and I mean that wholeheartedly. And I might be projecting my own experience.
I think it's good to identify.
But I mean, when you for the healthy individual, yes, it's a great thing to be social. It's a great thing to build a community connection or to build a connection to where you live or, be a part of the neighborhood or, things like that. When you're not a healthy person, and whether that's in your diet and lifestyle, your mental state or whatever it may be, you teeter on manipulation at that point. You're spending more of your time trying to convince others you're okay rather than genuinely actually being concerned. Like for me, if I was to, if let's say we've been friends for years and, this whole time I've just, told you I'm fine and I'm good and I've got XYZ going on and you're like, yeah, I think he's doing fine, blank and blank. And then out of nowhere, I kill myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You were just getting reinforcement to get by.
Yeah. Just getting enough of what I could from every little person to stay okay and then suffer in silence. And a lot of people suffer in silence.
And some people suffer in not silence. They suffer. It's almost like they're trying to stay above water with the incessant complaining. It's almost a cry for who gives a shit.
Yeah.
Or they just want to. They want to have deep feeling to know they're alive. And God, we travel a lot. Most of the people at GSI travel a lot. We travel a lot, and when I'm in airports.
Oh yeah, that's where you find the
Oh shit. If you tune in, if you take the ear pods out for a minute and you tune into what's going on around you, I'll hear people on the phone and it just feels like they want everyone around them to hear.
Oh yeah.
The complaining. And yes, it comes off obnoxious. The first reaction I have is, "Oh my God, like that is not healthy. That's obnoxious." And then you step back and you say, "Man, that person they're putting a line in the water. They're looking for something. They want something to come back to them, and this is how they've learned to go about looking for it." Yeah,
I think people innately want a human response for anything, and whether I think very healthy individuals with very productive lives can have their moments.
Damn right.
You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. It's almost kind of a good sign. You see that guy every day at work who's very howdy doody, good to see you, and nothing's wrong.
Punch that guy in the face.
Yeah, you want to hit him in the face. You want to go and like, how the hell are you so energetic? It's 5:45. Or you gotta. I think it's humbling to have that moment too for those around you, or as a leader to have those moments even to express humanity a little bit.
Yeah, no, well said. Hey, take us back to Fat Kid Charles. All right, that was a very sensitive way to say that because it didn't impact your life at all. Obviously,
it's so great.
All right, so Fat Kid Charles,
love it.
This affected you through, I'm not sure, elementary school, middle school, high school.
Yeah, so really all of it, and it just kind of happened. I'm a product of a single parent for the most part. It's a longer story, and I think that compiles into everything else I've said. But I think it was more of I was able to eat what I wanted because maybe my mom felt bad about the way I was being raised or the environment I was in, and I think and the lack of kind of a regular nuclear home, I guess I should say. I've had a couple different step parents and everything else, and you just kind of, I think that was my thing. I think I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't a good student. I was a procrastinator, and it's because I didn't really have much reinforcement in it.
By the way, don't lose your train of thought. If you're a parent out there who's giving your kids Swiss rolls and Sprite, don't expect your kid to pass any classes past fucking 9:30 a.m.
Oh yeah.
I look at the diet of some of these kids, and look, I was not perfect.
Right. No.
And God, my dad loved us to the end of earth and back. But he was limited in what he knew about nutrition. But he knew some basics. We ate vegetables with every meal. Like, we ate the good stuff. But he was your typical parent who's like, here's your fruit roll-up. That's part of lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Oh, sugar. Let me unroll this sugar and eat it in shapes, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? So, I look at these kids' diet, and I'm like, oh, my God. How do you expect your kid to have mental fortitude throughout a school day, or even do as well as they, could possibly in sports when they're eating that stuff? It's wild. Anyway, continue.
And so, like I was saying, it kind of, I was able to do that stuff, not necessarily because my parents thought it was the right thing or my mom thought it was the right thing. It was more like am I really going to tell him no after all of this?
Get this kid some happiness.
Yeah, and and I'm not saying that I was eating out of a bag every night and all this stuff. There were times I had home cooked meals, but my growing up situation was different. And when I say different, I mean bad. So like, so it was. And again, that I'll go back real quick, but that ties into you don't really realize things were bad until you are ready to acknowledge it as a whole. Your whole life, you make rationalizations for things that you perceive as normal, and that can be from your super rich asshole who thinks it's okay to be rude to a busboy because they're lesser, and and he just never learns better, or it can be a female that was born in poverty in a tribal place in Afghanistan, or whatever. That there's going to be rationalizations that happen along the way for those people to feel comforted in their actions or their environment.
Sure.
And so for me, that was, my mom is doing the best she can. She's working a lot. I don't like, she just has to do what she has to do. I'm just going to be thankful that I have a roof over my head. I'm going to help take care of my brothers and, et cetera and so forth. And so you rationalize all that. And it only really hits you when you come time to unpack, trauma or past things that you believe have affected you, where you can really look from an outsider perspective and go, you know what, that wasn't right. That wasn't normal. That wasn't good. That wasn't how a child is supposed to be raised. And you can be thankful that you grew from it and you possibly, or hopefully, grow into a better person.
Sure.
But a lot of people don't. And it's not going to just relate to your diet. You can be a piece of shit and be in shape. and you know what I mean?
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all in shape people are nice.
I've never met a bodybuilder who was not concerned about the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I have. All right. Let me go ahead and make this comment.
Do it.
I do know a couple amazing bodybuilders, like good people. But damn, I mean, you look at a sport where you're so focused on yourself, like nothing comes before Instagram, bro.
Yeah. And the reality is you are lifting things up and down for aesthetic.
Changing the world.
For aesthetic. No matter how many cool video edits you put out and how many filters you throw on it, we are all a grain of sand in the beach of the universe.
Big time.
And that's
big time.
And that's why you got to humble yourself, dude. You got to bring yourself back down to reality. Understand that we are small. The world doesn't revolve around you.
I find that a very comforting thing.
I love it.
The word spec does not do justice for what we are.
No, absolutely not.
And I think this could come off of we don't matter. Right? No, that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
It is the humbling aspect of it that I like. We don't matter.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty great.
It's awesome.
It's pretty great.
When you look at it from a certain angle, it's pretty awesome.
It's great.
And what it deduces down to for me is, while I'm here, okay, shit's not going to matter. It's not.
Yeah.
But while I'm here, I want to have the most positive impact I can on myself and the people around me.
Right.
I want to love the people that love me. Right? I want to surround myself with the right people. And if this is the run I got, I want to make it awesome.
Yeah. Do the best you can for you in any scenario. And, I think that's why I find it so funny to now look back on everything. And I say this as someone who isn't 65 or anything. I've had this great ability. And very fortunate ability to be able to get through all of these things. And now that I'm here, it's why I've become like a jack of all trades. Like someone's like, oh, you want to try this? I'm like, yeah, I'll try that. Why not? But, it's like, oh, do you want to go do X, Y, Z? And you're like, okay, do I feel like this is going to hurt me physically or morally? Well, then no, I'm going to try it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you can go try anything and you can do it with the utmost confidence because you realize like, that you are small. You're small in this world. You're what you do can be insignificant. Like you doing something you really enjoy that you might otherwise consider embarrassing in a past time is so empowering.
Yeah.
Because you just don't care anymore.
Yep.
Like if you decided you wanted to join a cover band and start singing songs at wherever, like most people would be like, oh, look at Dustin and he's doing his songs again. You'd be like, I'm having a great time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I just say do the things, but make sure you unpack everything else, and then you're good to go.
I dig it. Yeah.
Ugh, I'm so bad at this.
I dig it.
Fat Charles. I was 245 at my heaviest.
Whoa.
Yeah, 245 at my heaviest. I was at 17 years old.
245.
And I was shorter than I am now. So I'm like 5'10", 5'11" on a
You're
good day.
a fit dude now. What do you weigh right now?
189.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you? What were the most significant behaviors that got you to 245, and what were the most significant behaviors that started changing the tide?
Well, I think we can go back to the discussion we just kind of had on the environment I grew up in. It was more of a, I don't think it was out of pity or anything. It was just allowed to happen, and I didn't know better as a kid.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the biggest thing that that changed it is because no one had told me. My grandma was so sweet. She never told me I was big. I had never had relatives say I was big.
Just learned to live that way.
I just was kind of that way. And, I wasn't very popular in school. Obviously, kids are mean. But I didn't think anything of it. I was like, whatever, I just am.
Yeah.
And I went to go join the service, around 18 years old.
Yeah, for all you 15-year-old listeners out there, which don't exist, stop being fucking mean, man.
Yeah, the 15-year-old.
Yeah. You hate to bring violence in it, but when you see a kid that acts ugly like that, you want to punch their dad in the face.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to, the kid. It's like I want to watch. I want that kid to watch me punch his dad in the face.
I never got pushed into lockers or anything like that, but I used to get made fun of
you wouldn't
in
fit,
class.
Charles. You were 245.
Yeah, I was
as
245 and huge.
Yeah.
So unrealistic expectation for a prank, and two, and then also just kids are mean.
Yeah.
But I went to go to the recruiter office to join the service. Me and my buddy Will, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, decided to join together. And so I go in and I go, yeah, I'd like to join. He goes, all right. And without skipping a beat, this recruiter, I don't remember her name, but she looked at me and goes, yeah, you're too fat. Just straight away. Yeah, you're too fat.
This was the most head-on thing you'd experienced.
I had never been told it like that. I had always had people kind of sugarcoat it, or, gym teachers that might allude to it, as a child or something like that. But I had never said someone, other than kids making fun of me, like, hey, you're too fat to do this. Like, and I was like, oh. And then we weighed, I was 245. And then I crash dieted because I had no knowledge of fitness or nutrition, and I didn't really have a support system that
you
knew
were
about
just
it
like
either.
calories in.
So I just knew that if I eat less, I will lose weight. So I switched to 1,200 calorie diet from 245. And I was tracking what I would eat, just kind of in my head, or I'd write down the calories, but I didn't know the macronutrients. I was just writing down calories.
Understood.
And but I wouldn't change the way I ate. So I'd still drink like a can of Coke and then go, oh, well, that's 160 calories I can't have. And now I'm down to like 1,000.
Yep.
And I was basically just starving myself.
Yeah.
I dropped down to 210 doing that in like 2.5 months.
I mean, not the healthiest way to do it, as you know, and you're alluding to.
Yeah.
But God, when you have a lot of extra weight on you, your body wants to get rid of it.
And especially when you're so young, and like it's obviously 18 to 23, 24, you have like these insane testosterone levels that can handle anything.
Yep.
So I mean, I dropped down to 210, went to basic, graduated basic at like 180.
You lost 30.
Yeah, well,
in basic.
Yeah, because at this point I was getting more in tune with my body, and I understood, like, I didn't necessarily know the macronutrients, but I understood enough to go, if I haven't done that much today, I don't need to eat a ton at every meal.
Sure.
Because in the Army, when you're not in the field and you're not eating MREs, which are also super calorie dense.
Yep.
You did get 3 meals a day. So you were getting breakfast, you were getting lunch, you were getting dinner.
Were you also catching the vibe of like, I can do these things physically now. This feels amazing. Let me run with this. I mean, if going from 245 to 210, you feel different.
Oh.
You breathe differently.
Well, and then after the first week or second week of basic training, a lot of guys know this, and I don't know what it is now. So if anyone is newer than me, I can't tell you. But the first week, first day, I would wake up and my legs would just be static shocked. Like I would feel like I was just being shocked. Like my legs had never been put through anything like this. This amount of running, I had never done it.
Just lactic acid buildup.
It felt like I was being electrocuted. It was bad. Like not even out of the bed, just waking up in pain. And I was like, I never want to feel like this again. I was like, I'm just going to become the strongest I can become. So I take a lot of pride in that since then, you know. It hasn't been without its ups and downs. I've been injured before, obviously. I've had some things slow me down, but it always competitive in fitness, man, you know. And when you grow up bigger, you realize how important it is and you just want to stay strong.
So you leave basic training 180 and then I'll just assume your knowledge base expands.
Right.
You realize how to become maybe truly comprehensively healthy.
Right.
You just pick up and then you just keep that lifestyle.
Yeah. And at this point, you know, I'm still kind of happy-go-lucky Charles, ignorant to the upbringing I've had and that I'm in this scenario. I've got a great pride in myself. And I've viewed the Army in this utopian way of like, we're all going to be like happy friends and we're just going to be in shape and work together. And you have some of that. And then you also have to realize you're still doing a lot of things on your own. You know, as a soldier or whatever you may be, it's always your individual responsibility to put yourself at the highest state of readiness, right?
Yes.
So it's, you know, you do learn. You have to expand.
I'd be remiss if we didn't get to this before we get off air. Take me back to when you were deployed. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is a very intense version of trying to establish healthy lifestyle on the road, right? It's hard. Yeah. It is hard. So I imagine you probably didn't have a ton of restaurants to pick from, right?
Yeah, no. The Jamba Juice was typically closed. Didn't get
McDonald's place. You know, I couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
No, it was ridiculous.
So take me through nutrition, fitness when you're in A, something very regimented, and B, something where you have so few options around. What did you do to stay physically fit, and what did you do to keep your nutrition on track? And those are one and the same.
The secret is you don't.
Okay.
In a forward environment, you kind of just want to make sure you're fed. You know, we did have a small little rinky-dink gym that had bullet holes all in it and shit. It was just not a fun place to really hang out in. I
don't like getting shot at when I do tricep kickbacks.
It was, you know, even if you had the ability to do
my
that,
form's a little off because I'm looking, you know, and the neck's over here. I'm like,
we had a bike on in this little rinky-dink gym that it was like a tent cover roof, and if you got on, it was a standing elliptical, and when you stood on this elliptical, I shit you not, there was a hole where the light from it would perfectly just shine on your chest, and you're like, I don't want to do this one. Your adrenaline keeps you kind of in shape. You're not getting a lot of sleep. You're not really getting, you know, the macronutrients to stay aesthetic, but you're getting the stuff you need to just keep yourself running.
Keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, we had people send care packages and stuff. You know, you get Oreos in the mail or something like that. Or you have people send you jerky, or you know, we did have people get protein powder sent out. You know, so I mean, yeah, you know, you have some small comforts that allow you to but there's no way to maintain it consistently. Your structure is not good out there. You're either asleep, you're waiting to do something, or you're doing something. You know, you're
just chasing the basics, trying to keep a healthy baseline out there.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to just keep yourself good, and you're also trying to keep enough nicotine in your bloodstream to tolerate it all.
Yeah,
you know. So,
so that's wild.
Yeah.
So let's round out the podcast by revisiting this. You know, people out there, they want to make their first move, and we've identified that you do have to recognize it, right? Mentally, there's got to be recognition there. That where you are is not maybe the best spot, right? There might be some hiccups in your current lifestyle, which any of us can say is true. Any of us can say that's true. But you know, the age old like couch to 5K, right? And you talked about introverted people who might not start in the same place as somebody else because of mental blockade. Where do you start? You're not feeling good. Your diet's not good. And by the way, people know monsters aren't good for them. They know Marlboros aren't good for them. They know drinking too much isn't good
Yeah,
for them.
I mean, what am I doing right now?
And you do that in moderation. I know this for a
Yeah.
fact. You're too fit. But it's like these. So you can't tell somebody like smoking's going to kill you, right? The worst thing you could do as a healthcare professional
Good.
is say,
Good.
You're a smoker. Your biggest risk factor is smoking. You have to quit tomorrow. You just lost that person most likely. What do these people do? First move. What the hell do they do to move the meter and change things up?
During this whole lead up, I was thinking. It came to me, and I've been thinking about it. You accept defeat. You know, like, and I think it's a realization to realize you need to make some changes. It's another thing to go, I've lost. You know what I mean? And to its,
Like, are we talking like
lost
Skittles 1, me 0?
Right,
yeah,
like
okay.
exactly. Like, let's say you can't give up sugar. You know, and you've tried and you might go off it for 3 days. You might go off for a week one time, and then you're eating it. You're habitual chocolate eaters that have to have something every night.
Yeah.
You know, or to excess, obviously. You know, not our moderation people. But accept defeat with anything, whether it's a mental hiccup you have or a sticking point you've got mentally or physically.
Is this so you can draw a line in the sand and say,
Draw a
"Hey,
line
I
in the
lost
sand.
till
I
now"?
lost. I've lost this battle, and then you can go. Now what do I do? Do I sit here and stay a loser, or do I continue to fight? Because I feel like when you don't admit you've lost, you think you're just gonna. You think you're gonna navigate it and somehow work your way
out.
back to being in control, and you won't. You need to admit that you've lost.
I love it.
Yeah.
You got my buy-in.
Yeah.
If you draw that line and you say, okay, here was that game I was playing. We got smoked. We're walking out chin and chest.
Yep.
You've just created a new start. Right? You've just created, okay, we could play another game.
Yeah. You've created that glass wall. You can see everything on that side of the wall, but you want to stay over here now. You know what I mean?
Pick your thing that you got your ass whooped in. Pick your thing you lost. I can think of like 3 right now.
Yeah.
It's humbling. It draws that line in the sand. It gives you a new place to start, a new mark to set, and chase with some confidence. That's so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
I love it. I just thought of it, so.
Damn. Well, that worked out well.
Yeah.
A huge thanks from all the people at GSI, not only for your presence today, but again, for your commitment through the military. That is very much appreciated, and we don't take that lightly.
I appreciate it always.
Yep. Thank you for coming today. Thank all of you for listening. And this is goodbye from High Vis Health.
I got to say one last thing
Go
before we
for
go.
it.
Emily, you're probably going to watch this later on because I know you're not going to watch it on your own time. I love you, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. So be ready on May 15th. She's not going to see this. So.
I love it.
But May 15th, get ready. Ring on the finger. Everything is going on from here. So excited.
All right, she knows this already. She does not know that there will be a ring on the finger.
Not yet. But she's not going to watch this. She's like, oh, you're going to do that podcast thing.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, this is legitimate intel, people. Keep it on the low for now.
Keep on moving.
All right, signing off. Goodbye.